the Super 7 Ultimates figures. Blue-Eye Mario is here and says, guess who's back, 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 back again, again, Shady's back, 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 tell some men, like, that was the secret track on that CD. So today, I'm going to start on these Ninja Turtles, these Super 7 Ninja Turtles, and I'm going to start with Bebop and Rocksteady, because Bebop and Rocksteady are the ones that got me to buy this line in the first place. I'm going to explain all that in a minute. Now, when I got Rocksteady, I got the cheapest one I could find on eBay, and he's pretty expensive. At least he was when I was looking. So I got a loose one, and here's the loose ones. There's going to be no unboxing video for Rocksteady, but we're going to talk about him on this video, because how can I talk about Bebop without talking about Rocksteady and vice versa? So, like I said, this guy came loose. I'm doing fine. I'm just really tired. Blue Mario asks, anyway, how's you doing? Well, that's how I'm doing. I'm just really tired. So, I've been working a lot, which is why I, haven't done any videos in a while, because I did have like a period where I basically just worked every day for like 2 weeks. I mean, technically I had one day off, but it was also a day where I got up at like 8 o'clock in the morning. So that doesn't really count as a day off, does it? Anyway, so yeah, so I've been sleeping like a lot because I've been really tired. But now we're going to talk about some action figures, which is long overdue. So let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. Rocksteady can look up about this far, look down about that far. Tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side. That's good to have because he's an idiot. Rotate the head all the way around, but you can see that his head's at kind of an angle. So when you turn it around backwards, he's pretty much looking up. And, of course, the arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders. By the way, I do wish that this head could raise up a little bit further. Like, I can raise it up about that far, but you can see it's not going to stay. It's going to pop right back down. But it would be nice to have him be able to look all the way up so you could have him charging at the turtles like that. That would be fun. Now, the arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders, and they raise up to the sides. Looks like about that far. He's got a single joint of articulation at the elbow, which rotates all the way around. And then he's got wrist articulation. Wrists rotate all the way around and has a horizontal hinge, which I just popped his whole arm off. Or popped his whole hand off. But, yeah, there you can actually see the peg there. They have really small pegs for such huge hands. And then these joints are kind of tight, which is how I wound up popping it out like that. But you can see horizontal hinge there. He rotates all the way around at the waist. And this does seem to be like kind of a little bit of a rocker waist, but you don't get that much movement out of it, unfortunately. You can kick up about that far, which is pretty good range of motion as far as that goes. Bends at the knees. Looks like not quite 90 degrees. But, he is a fairly thick action figure. And then that rotates all the way around. You got a boot cut, so that rotates all the way around. And then his foot can point down about that far and point up about that far. A lot of good details to the sculpt of this guy. A lot of good paint details. You can see he's got like how the original figure had with the little suture there. Bobby Wald says, careful with the way you're handling that figure. Rhinos are endangered, especially mutant ones. Well, he's like the only one as far as I know. The only mutant rhino. There was a story where him and Bebop got sent to Africa and they were living among the wild animals in the comic book, in the Archie comic book. And I don't think it took, though. I think they got bored with that kind of easily. It's in that story, if I remember correctly, they were remembering being animals in the wild, even though technically they're supposed to be humans who got mutated into animals. So I'm guessing that's some kind of like racial memory that carried over into them when they got mutated. They just remembered things that the original animals remembered, I guess. I don't know how that works. But they thought they'd be at peace living in Africa with the wild animals, and it turned out to not be the case. Now, even though I got this guy loose, I did get some of the accessories. Didn't get all of the accessories. But we'll go ahead and talk about the accessories some. The ones that I got. So he came with the accessory sprue and everything that was on it, although some things had been removed or fallen off accidentally. I'm not sure which, but you can see the sewer lid shield is still on there, the manhole cover, and the 3 grenades are on there. And in the bag, we have the 3 loose grenades, the painted versions, and you can see that those are painted in like a very dark olive green with some silver detailing to it and some gunmetal detailing to it, I should say. Looks like there's a little bit of lighter silver where like the grenade pin is, but I can't tell if that's just the way the light's hitting it or not. And he did have the knife that came on the accessory tree. We can see that, and that got kind of warped in the bag. That's the kind of thing that happens when it's getting transported. Like I said, I'm not sure like which of these accessories were removed from the tree at one point or which ones just broke off in transport. And here's the loose knife, which you can see has some nice painted detail to it. Got a darker gray handle and a silver blade, looking very cool. And here's the manhole cover shield that came separate. And I just want to show this off basically to be like, they're pretty much identical. There's not really any. Usually the separate weapons are painted and the ones on the tree are unpainted, but there was no paint applied to this whatsoever, it looks like. So that's kind of an odd choice. I would think, maybe like, paint it black and dry brush on some, gunmetal, or maybe a little bit of rust, maybe a little bit of sewer gunk. As far as I can tell, I should probably talk about these two. There's also extra hands. He's got 2 extra hands. They're both, identical, so I'm just going to show the one. But he's got 2 solid fist hands, which are not going to get much use from me, honestly. And then the one accessory he was missing was he did not come with the loose painted version of this, but from what I understand, from what I can gather, the painting wasn't too impressive on this piece anyway. It was just kind of all matte gray. But there's the what they call a retro mutagen blaster, but obviously it's kind of a cartoonified version of an M60 machine gun. And just to show my work, I got Rock and Roll over here with his M60 machine gun, and you can see how the silhouette of the 2 weapons is very similar. So obviously this was based off of an M60 machine gun, even though it's called a retro mutagen blaster. We all know what it really is. I'm just saying, it's just when they drew it on the cartoon, they had it shooting ray gun blasts. Now, unfortunately, he can't hold this very well, because you can see that unlike the one that came with the original Playmates toy, they decided to give this one a trigger and a trigger guard, but they didn't decide to give his hand a trigger finger to, take advantage of the trigger and trigger guard. So I'm of the opinion that either they should have left the trigger and trigger guard off of this and just had it be like without one, like the original Playmates toy, or they should have given him a hand with a trigger guard so he could hold this thing properly. But as it is, he can't hold it properly. Now, I might be able to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this with an X-Acto knife and with a hairdryer, kind of bend the finger back and fit it in the trigger guard. But I don't know if I want to be cutting into this, this action figure, which is not exactly cheap. I mean, I was able to get a good deal on it, but it is what it is. I don't know if I want to be cutting into it. Camille Madi is here and says, hello, Bebop and Rocksteady, my favorites. I'm glad you're excited. So, but yeah, that's, I think, pretty much it for Rocksteady. I think that I should point out, I really like the colors on this guy. I do think he feels a lot like the original action figure. And the main reason that I wound up buying this version of Bebop and Rocksteady is I was looking to extend you know, my NECA figures. Basically, I wanted figures that would scale really well with these guys. My favorite turtles are still these Mirage NECA turtles that I have the bootleg versions of them with the colored headbands. Excuse me. And they're still like my favorite Ninja Turtle figures, so they're still the ones that I kind of want figures that will go well with these, is what I was looking at. And you know, they have Bebop and Rocksteady for their cartoon series, and I thought those were really cool looking figures. I thought those were really good, and I was going to try to get them, but then I saw these Super 7 figures, and I saw them next to the NECA figures, and the Super 7 figures just towered over them, like way taller than you can see, like next to Leonardo here. Like this is how I want these guys to scale. I want the Ninja Turtles to be scrappy little guys up against these big, huge monsters, is basically what I want. So I decided, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get Bebop and Rocksteady from the Super 7 line. And then I had the I don't remember if I decided that before or after I had the Shredder, and I did really like that Shredder figure, if you remember. So what I decided eventually was that I was gonna get all the Super 7 figures to make up the first wave of the vintage Playmates line, which would be the 4 Turtles, Splinter, April, the Shredder, Bebop and Rocksteady, and the Foot Soldier. And so far, I have all of them except for the Foot Soldier. The Foot Soldier is the only one that I don't have. And I'll probably get him eventually, but honestly, he was the one I was kind of least excited about. But anyway, I did manage to get all 4 of the Turtles. Got a good deal on both Leonardo and Raphael because they were available for cheap on Big Bad Toy Store. And Donatello and Michelangelo, I had to pay a little bit more for. But at least I was able to, you know, find those for as cheap as I possibly could. I don't think like Donatello I still got for about retail, and Michelangelo I had to pay a little bit more than retail. But you know, since I got such a good deal on Leonardo and Raphael, I kind of feel like it evens out. And then I've got Splinter and April and Casey Jones, because I gotta have Casey Jones. And I got the Mauser set. So, and I might buy more of them in the future, but I kind of figure after I get the Foot Soldier, then I've got the whole first wave, and everything else is going to be gravy. Like you know, there are probably some other characters that I just love and will need to get. I can't think of, like, Baxter Stockman is one I'd like to have. The Fly version of Baxter Stockman they did. I think he looks really cool. But I got Casey Jones because he's like just one of my favorite characters in Ninja Turtles anyway. So even though he's not in that first wave, it's like, you know, well, he was in the second wave and he's still like a super important character in the mythos. And he's one of my favorite Ninja Turtles characters. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that one. And I do also have, this is going to be one that's going to be opened up in this batch of Ninja Turtles figures. This ain't going to be just Super 7, folks. I've got some NECA stuff I'm going to open up too. So and we're gonna do some comparisons because it's gonna be fun. So when I open up the Super 7 Casey, I also will open up this one around that same time. I'm not sure which one I'm gonna open up first. And in addition to that, let's see, which one is it? I got a few of these movie figures over here. In addition to that, I found this guy at Ross for $17. So I've got another movie version of Casey to talk about. Looks like pretty much the same figure, but with some better accessories than the dirt bike figure that I had previously. But we'll talk about that. And of course, I've got the movie version of April O'Neil. So we'll talk about her. And we'll get to open her up. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up. So again, hence why I got to get back on the horse, even though I've been sleeping a lot. But I can stand to sleep a little bit less. Anyway, so here's Bebop. You can see he's got this is typical on these slipcovers. On these, they'll have the sewer manhole here with the character's face surrounded usually by their weapons. So you can see 2 drill, not the whole drill, but 2 drill bits on either side of his head. Got the Ninja Turtles logo on the back. The bad guys are in purple. Good guys are in green, of course. Let's go ahead and open them up. So this just slides right off. It's not taped on or anything. And then underneath, you can see it's got more of a bluish brick background. Again, the villains get kind of bluish bricks. Got the foot graffiti on there, a little power box, a little bio on the back. I don't get to read the bio on the back of Rocksteady because I didn't get a box, but we'll just read Bebop's. All right. Bebop, powerhouse punk enforcer for the Foot Clan. Bebop is the mutant punk rock hog who could slam dance his way through any crowd. This roadhog warrior dares to shave his head in blatant opposition to the establishment and his parents. I don't think they ever mentioned his parents on the show, but that would have been fun. Behind his mohawk, ponytail, cool shades, and all-star tennis shoes lurks the heart of a pig, ready to pulverize the turtles. Guided by the evil Shredder, Bebop is willing to roll in the mud to snort out the turtles. His 2 turtle shoulder pads cover a grotesque array of safety pins, tattoos, and junk food. Oh my God. Camille Madi says, Playmates, Bebop, and Rocksteady kind of brought me back to buying and collecting action figures. Well, that happens. That happened with me. Like I outgrew playing with action figures like a lot of kids did, and wasn't really buying them anymore until the 1989 Batman movie came out, and I was kind of obsessed with Batman. I'm always kind of obsessed with Batman. But that movie in particular, it was a cultural phenomenon. So, of course, I was wanting to get every piece of merchandise I could get my hands on. So I did see the Toy Biz Batman action figure at the store one day and said, I could buy a Batman action figure. Why not? Bought him, took him home, took him out of the package, put him on a shelf. And then, next time I was at the store, I saw the Joker. And I'm like, well, I've got Batman. I might as well have the Joker too, right? So I bought the Joker, took him out of the package, put him on my shelf next to Batman. Next time I'm at the store, I see some other characters, and I'm like, well, they've got Robin. Like, how do you have Batman without Robin? I know he's not really in the new movie, but there's a figure of him. Might as well get Robin and, Superman and the Penguin, and then it all kind of snowballs, doesn't it? And like I said before, you can't have Rocksteady without having Bebop and vice versa. And so he's another one that was one they had for cheap on Big Bad Toy Store. So he's only like $25, but they didn't have Rocksteady. So that was, again, why I had to go and comb through eBay and try to find a Rocksteady, and wound up probably paying a little bit more than retail for a loose figure. But it happens. Sometimes that's how the action figure game be, Oh, and he does have this it's that sort of dark blue that matches up with the bricks, but it's not a brick pattern. It's just plain dark blue. So let's go ahead and open up Bebop and have a look at him, because I am excited about this guy. All right, so we got him out of the package, and there seem to be like a couple little trays here. I think that this tray in the back has the accessories in it, and it seems like it's kind of taped in, so we're going to need our X-Acto knife to cut through the tape. I'll just cut through one half. Not all the accessories are in here, but some of them are. All right, so we've got the accessory tree, the sprue, and that's got our unpainted accessories on it to match with the original toy. So there is a garbage can lid shield, the drill, which has a scope on it for some reason. Why do you need a scope for a drill? Are you that bad at drilling? And then this cool knife. It's a little dagger. So most people don't take these off of the tree. They just leave them on the tree as like a nostalgic little extra. And I'm going to do that myself, probably with most of these weapons. I didn't even take any accessories off of the tree that came with Rocksteady, even though some of them were already off. But since the rifle was already off, I figure I can put that in his hand, right? Since he didn't come with the regular rifle. And there's 2 extra hands in here. These 2 big, meaty fists. We'll have a look at one of them, because they should both be identical. And his hands are huge. His hands are bigger than Rocksteady's even. I mean, he was a black guy before he became a pig. I'm just saying, before he got mutated into a warthog, originally when he was a human being, he was an African American fellow, and he's got some big hands. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there, you know. Just letting you know. All right, so he does have duplicates of these accessories that are already loose, and let's have a look at those. So the trash can lid, again, like with the sewer manhole cover, there's not a whole lot of extra paint detail you can add to this guy, but they did manage to actually do it with this one, unlike the manhole cover. You can see like there's some little silver dots of paint there where the handle is riveted onto the trash can cover. And it is indeed like a slightly different color. It's got more of a matte finish, and at the same time, it's a little more metallic. So it's like a dull gunmetal gray. Again, it's a trash can lid, so it's supposed to look kind of ugly. Now, my one complaint about it is there's not much of a lip for the trash can lid, as you can see. So it doesn't look like it fit on the trash can very well. And if it was me making this, I guess they are trying to have fidelity to the original toys, but I would have had more ridges on the top, like the way that an old school trash can lid actually had. But, you know, he comes with a trash can lid that, you know, the original Bebop figure came with. So it's nice that they acknowledge that. And then we got this knife. Let's go ahead and get that out of there. Yeah, they were punkers on the original show. And Rocksteady looked almost more like he was like a militia member or something. And the boys did fight some militia members in the comics not long after they went to Northampton. But you can see the knife has like some cool silver detailing to it. And it looks like the hilt of the knife is unpainted. So it's that same sort of bluish gray color, and the pommel there that the sprue is. So it's that same color. It's unpainted. And then the actual grip of the knife handle is painted black. Go and set that down. Sorry, I've been outside a lot, so I'm kind of congested. That tends to happen this time of year. He's got like a little itty bitty piece of packaging over his snout. I'm guessing to protect the paint job on his snout, on both of his snouts, actually, because he does have two separate heads, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But here is his main offensive weapon, which is, of course, the drill. And to me, this seems a little undersized. Like this, I don't have the original to compare, and I haven't had it in a long time, so maybe I'm just misremembering. But this seems to me like it's about the same size as the one that actually came with the Playmates figure, which was much smaller. But yeah, he's got a drill. Oh, I should point out the drill actually has little studs around the where the bit goes in. What do they call that thing? The block, the knock. I don't remember what they call it. There's a term for that, a technical term that I'm drawing a blank on. But yeah, it's got little spikes on it to make it look more punk rock. And again, it's molded in that sort of blue-gray plastic like everything on the sprue, but it's got silver detailing on the drill bit and black detailing on the grip. Let's move on. That's all the weapons he gets. But I mean, this guy's such a beast. Does he really need any other weapons? I mean, Rocksteady's got an arsenal, but this guy, I guess he figures less is more. You know, just I got a drill and I got a knife, and that's all I need. We'll get them toidles. Yeah, let's get them toidles. You know, it's kind of difficult to do both Bebop and Rocksteady's voice. Just Rocksteady's is a little more high pitched, but they're basically still that sort of get those toidles. And I believe it was, I don't remember who did Rocksteady, but I believe it was I think it was the guy who did Donatello that did Rocksteady, wasn't it? What wasn't it the guy who did Donatello? No, Bebop. I mean, the Bebop I think was the guy who did Donatello. I'm gonna look that up. And Leonardo was Rocksteady. We put TMNT so they know I'm not looking for Cowboy Bebop. Voice actor. It's Barry. Was it Barry Gordon? Yeah, Barry Gordon. That's his name. So, and then it's got a completely different Barry Gordon as the picture, even though it's describing the Barry Gordon that I'm thinking of. Yeah, Barry Gordon was the voice of Bebop, and Cam Clark was the voice of Rocksteady. Yeah, I always draw a blank on Barry Gordon's name. Maybe because it's just such a normal name. Sounds like a guy that like I would run into at a gas station or a bowling alley. So they describe his shoes as being all stars, but you can see they didn't. Again, the original figure, I want to say that the shoes were just painted solid red. And you can see there's a sculpted to be Converse, except for they don't have the same pattern on the bottom. They've got this kind of like circular sort of pattern. But if these are really Converse All-Stars, they, of course, would have white soles. Well, white around the edge of the soles, brown on the actual soles, white across the front of the toes. But it does have the little circle where the logo would go, even though it's on both sides of the shoe instead of just the inside. And he's got the leg brace that the original Bebop had that you might not have noticed when you were a kid because it was unpainted. It was just, it was painted just the same color as the rest of his pants. But you can see it here. And his tail is no longer just sculpted onto the body. It actually is articulated. He's got a tail. Rocksteady doesn't. Don't ask me why. I don't know how the logic works. And then he's got two different heads. And you can see this head has more sort of a pinkish overspray on it, like the original figure. But I guess they figured you'd want to have a head that did not have that. So it looked a little more like the cartoon, where he just had kind of tan skin. Like I pointed out before, Bebop as a human being was a black person. And his skin actually became lighter when he got turned into a warthog. Go figure. So, and you can see here, he's all flushed. And I kind of like this pink skin because it's almost like he's flushed and angry and really, really mad at them toidles. And then the shoulder pads on this one are separate pieces. And you can see very much that they are sculpted into the original figure. But here, like the detail is painted with like the turtle skulls and the little turtle paw, the bones of the turtle paws, I guess, turtle feet, whatever you want to call them. This one's missing a foot. It broke off, I guess. I don't mean it broke off like of the toy. It looks like it was manufactured to be that way. Like it's not supposed. They didn't intend for that to be part of it. I think that it's part of the character's history that he had one over here and it just broke off at some point during the fight. He lost his little turtle foot, and then he's got this weird. I don't know what the hell this thing's supposed to be, but this alien looking thing that's kind of etched into the back of his jacket. It's like it's stitched in. It's like it's embroidered into his jacket. Maybe his mom, his grandmama, or somebody did that for him. So that's nice. And he's got the blue glasses, like we think of Rocksteady having. Like the funny thing is, if you look at how these glasses are set up, usually when you're wearing glasses, they loop over the ears. That's what holds the glasses onto your head. But they're underneath his ears. How does that work? I have no idea. And then his teeth. This is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting. His teeth are gray. Why? He's got dead teeth. Like not one dead tooth. All of his teeth are gray. Maybe he drinks too much grape soda or something. I don't know. I'm not trying to cast aspersions and stereotypes. I'm just speculating as to what can make a person's teeth that gray. And grape soda was just the first thing that came to mind. I swear I'm not saying that like just black people are always drinking grape soda. That's not what I'm trying to say. Don't come at me with racist comments talking about that in the comments. I don't want to hear it. That's not right. And he's got some buttons on. Probably the original figure had these too. I never really noticed, but he's got buttons and badges. They're all like kind of painted in on these. Like they went all out on the punk rock look. He's even got a piercing in his lip, and I'm pretty sure the original one did not have the piercing in the lip. But here we go with a piercing in the lip. And he's got an earring, and of course he's got a septum ring. So you know, he's making his trauma everything, I guess. Like this the septum ring theory that they talk about on the internet, but that's beyond the purview of this channel. He's got leather pants, and I really like that it's this black unpainted plastic, which makes it look very leathery, and it looks like it's been, you know, cut up and stitched back together. Like maybe he had to make these pants himself because he's so huge he can't fit into regular pants anymore. And I talked about the leg brace and how that's painted in, but it actually is like a separate piece. Like you can see, can you see on the camera the space in between? Like these are separate pieces that appear to be separately molded pieces, I think, even that are glued onto the leg, and they've got their own sort of hinge on them. So they move independently, but yet together whenever you bend his knee. So that's kind of neat. And then he's got the chains. He's got the chain around his left wrist. I think he's got like this He-Man type bracer around his right wrist. And you can see it's gray with some silver detailing to it. And all that stitching on the pants is painted in. The shoelaces are painted in, and they're this grody gray color, which works really well for like shoelaces that you've had for a while, and they're starting to get kind of dingy. They're not that bright white shoelace anymore. It's that kind of gross gray color, you know what I mean? And he's even got like dirt kind of overspray on his shoes. And they just did a great job with this figure. Everything about this figure is really cool. And of course, he's got the distinctive pinkish, purplish, fuchsia-ish mohawk that Bebop is known for. And of course, on the action figure, there were in the original Playmates action figure, I mean, there was some variety as to how this figure was painted in. Sometimes the pink on his face was a little more pale. Sometimes it was a little more reddish. I like the reddish look that this has, where it looks like he's fuming, like he's just really angry. Look at that silver on the lenses and the way it catches the light. It's just so cool. He looks so ferocious. And but yeah, the mohawk on this guy, like it would vary in terms of color, and like sometimes it would lean more purple and sometimes it would lean more pink. And this one I think hit the balance just right, where it's this like if it was any more pink, it would be like fuchsia. And if it was any more purple, it would be like a true purple. But this is almost kind of like a plum kind of color. And I think that's a good color for him. So let's talk about his articulation. Rocksteady can rotate, or Bebop can rotate his head all the way around, but his ponytail is going to kind of bump into his vest a little bit. So be really careful with that. So you don't want to wind up accidentally breaking his ponytail off or anything. In fact, I'm going to go back the other way because I think that might... Oh, man, it's trickier to get his head back around the other way. So, like, because it bumps into his pauldrons there. Speaking of pauldrons, that's probably going to... yeah, he can look down about that far and look up about that far. The pauldrons are going to kind of interfere with the arm articulation. And I don't want to accidentally break one of these off. But in theory, the arms should rotate all the way around. But I don't want to actually take them all the way around because I don't want to break off the pauldron, but you'd still get some good articulation out of it as it is. And then the arms raise up to the sides. Looks like about that far. Maybe I could get it to go, yeah, one more further because it kind of ratchets. But yeah, that's about as far as that goes. Oh yeah, did I mention the chain belt? He's got that chain belt too, and all this stuff is painted in. It just looks great. And the little skull necklace. Very cool. Silver chain on the skull necklace. Silver zipper on the vest. They went all out with the paint apps on this guy. He looks great. So he's got a single joint of articulation at the elbow, which bends almost but not quite 90 degrees, and then that rotates all the way around. And his wrists rotate all around, and they've got a horizontal hinge, just like what we saw on Rocksteady. This one's kind of stiff, but it does have that hinge. And then rotates all the way around at the waist. bumping into his tail because I had his tail kind of up. And it looks like, again, like with Rocksteady, technically it should wobble, but it doesn't really wobble that much. I don't know if it's intended to or not, but it seems like it should, and it doesn't. Just throwing that out there. So Bebop can kick up about 90 degrees, and then he's got a single joint of articulation at the knee, which bends almost but not quite 90 degrees, and that rotates all the way around, at least on the right leg. I would not advise rotating it all, even though it looks like it is manufactured, so it can rotate all the way around. I would not advise doing that with the leg brace because we don't want to cause that to come loose. It looks like to me, though, that like this might come apart, like rather than break. Like you might be able to depeg it or something, but I'm not going to take a chance on it, and I advise that you not take a chance on it. So, and then he does have a boot cut, so technically where his pants legs end and his shin begins, so that rotates all the way around. Bebop can point his foot down about that far and point his foot up about that far, and that's it for articulation. Let's talk about some of these accessories. Now, I didn't really talk about all the accessories with Rocksteady, except I'm going to say right now that like his hands don't really hold any of those accessories particularly well. And like, you know, he'll probably hold them well enough that you can sit them on your shelf holding the accessories. But if a kid's playing with them, excuse me, if a kid's playing with them, those accessories are going to fall out of his hands. But let's see if we can have some better luck with Bebop. And man, Bebop's hands are like, look at how these hands are set up. Okay, so like they're actually curled like all the way around. These are like old school G.I. Joe Kung Fu grip hands. If you're familiar with those at all, like the hands are basically shaped about like this. And on the Kung Fu grip, they're soft rubber, so they're pretty easy to pull them apart, and then they'll spring back and hold whatever accessories they hold. So these would be good hands to hold accessories, except for they're made out of a fairly rigid plastic for this sort of figure, and I'm just not having any luck getting that knife in his hand at all. So let's move on to the drill. I might be able to get the drill in his hand, but even that seems like it's probably going to be the same with the left hand. But if you start with like the top of his hand and kind of force it in, then you can get him to hold the drill. So, but the knife pommel, I kind of feel like that's a little too thick to be able to fit it in like that. And I'm not having any better luck, I don't think, going from the, well, maybe a little better luck going from the bottom. So I think this guy's got the opposite problem of what Rocksteady had, where like with Rocksteady, I was having a hard time getting the accessories to stay in his hand. Like, watch this. I'll show you. Well, now it doesn't want to do it. But yeah, see how easily that comes out? And he's not even like gripping the whole thing because the trigger guard is in the way. But yeah, now it doesn't want to go back in. Now that I actually want it to stay in his hand, oh, there it goes. So again, it'll be fine if you just got these guys like standing on your shelf or whatever. But if you're a kid trying to play with them, and I know some people out there got kids, they want to let play with their toys. And these are very toyetic figures, like they're made to be, adult collector pieces. But let's not get it twisted. These are still based on the old Playmates toys, and the Playmates toys are great children's playthings. So of course the kid's going to see these and go, "Oh, dude, those are awesome. I want to play with them." And depending on who dad or uncle or big brother or whoever is, they might be like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead, have fun," or "Yeah, you can play with it, but be really careful because that one's kind of expensive," or "You keep your filthy child hands off of my action figures." it could go either way. And personally, I'm somewhere in between the first two types. I want to let the kids have fun with them, but I also don't want them to break them. So I'm gonna keep an eye on them while they play with them. And I might play with them too. Whatever. It's good male bonding with the nephews. I'm just saying. So anyway, so yeah, if they probably should have made his hands out of a slightly softer slightly more pliable type of plastic, and then he'd be able to hold the accessories a little better. I do notice that his fingernails are painted in too. That's some good detailing there. So I never noticed was Rocksteady's fingernails painted in. Sure enough, they are a slightly different shade of gray. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, so both these figures are great. You might still be able to find this one for cheap on Big Bad Toy Store, and I definitely recommend it if you want to get into this line. This is what got me into this line, was these two guys, and like I said, they're freaking huge. Look at them next to each other. They're both huge guys. You saw me stand Rocksteady against my old NECA Leonardo. That's how I want these guys to scale. I want these to be gigantic, and they'll tower over the SUPER7 Shredder too. And I know somebody out there is going to go, well, actually, on the cartoon, Bebop and Rocksteady were shorter than the Shredder. Yeah, well, they shouldn't have been. That was a mistake. They shouldn't have done it that way. Bebop and Rocksteady should always be like giant hulking monsters that stand like 7 feet tall. And yes, they should be way taller than the Shredder. Let's look at them next to some other 7-inch scale action figures. Of course, I've got the Riddler over here. And of course, he's much more massive than the Riddler. If we assume that the Riddler is a guy who's at least average height, he's a little bit more average height. But against a tall guy, I think that's probably a tall figure for the Riddler, honestly. He's about the same height as He-Man. You know, if we don't count the mohawk. But even then, the bulk is just way, he's way more muscular than He-Man. And then I think I've got a Batman. I got Superman. We can see him next to the Justice League Task Force version of Superman. Again, if we don't count the mohawk, he's about the same height as Superman. Against another huge figure. We can look at him against McFarlane's Solomon Grundy. Grundy's a little bit taller. And next to Darkseid, the Zack Snyder Darkseid. Yeah, you can see Darkseid is taller, but you know what we say, Darkseid is. So, and last but not least, let's get a look at him next to Count Dracula. Our NECA Dracula. He's about the same height as Dracula. I think Bela was like 6'4". So we're talking about a guy who's at least 6'4", if we're using that as our metric for how tall he is. But yeah, he's a beast. He's huge. He's massive, and he's even bigger than Rocksteady was. How do they stack up? They're about the same height. But you can see like Bebop has a bit more heft to him. Bebop is a bigger guy than Rocksteady, which I don't think was the case when they were humans, but it's the case when they get mutated, which is weird because you would think a rhinoceros is bigger than a warthog. But again, whatever. Sometimes logic just goes out the window with these mutations. We know that's the case. Anyway, I think for the next episode, I'm going to go ahead and open up April O'Neil. And I've got two of these. I found one at Ross for $17. And then I wound up buying a second one later on because I've got an idea for a custom. I'll talk more about that on the next episode. But yeah, I'll go and open up April next because I have that idea for a custom. I can go ahead and get started on the custom once I open her up. But that's it for Bebop and Rocksteady. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about these guys. They're probably some of the most popular villains in Ninja Turtles, even after they went through a bit of a hiatus, because apparently Peter Laird did not care for these characters and did not care for the old Ninja Turtles cartoon, like, full stop, but like did not want to use these characters, and they wound up not being used for like several years until Nickelodeon bought Ninja Turtles and were like, why aren't we using these characters? They're really popular. So then they came back with a vengeance. But I've already opened up the Shredder. I opened up the Shredder a while back, and he was I think he's the only one from this line that I've opened up so far. But we've got all four of the Turtles. We've got April. We've got Splinter. We've got the Mousers. We got Casey Jones. So we got a lot of cool stuff to open. Camille Madi says, thank you for the review and the stories. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming by. So thanks to anybody who came by. In fact, thanks to Bobby Wald and Blue White Mario and anybody else that might be there lurking out there in YouTube land. You can lurk. That's fine. I lurk sometimes too. I might be lurking on your videos. You never know. That's how you do an evil laugh. Anyway, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below that should be next to Man at Arms on my couch. Leave a comment. I like it when you leave comments. YouTube likes it when you like and subscribe. I think they like it when you leave comments too, but I especially like it when you leave comments. Let me know what you think about these two classic characters and their place in Ninja Turtles lore. They're certainly essential characters as far as I'm concerned, which is why I really wanted to get them in this scale. But now, like I said, I considered those NECA versions, which are really cool and look very much like the cartoon versions. And you know, who knows, maybe I might wind up getting those figures in the future too. But I decided that these, just because of the sheer size of them, that these had to be my for this part of the collection. They had to be my Bebop and Rocksteady. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye. Hit the end stream button so we can end the stream.